So I'm going to begin every EFT session with this exact footage because it'll be easier for me to separately record the audio. So this introduction is just going to be what the tapping points are, how to use them with the recording that will come immediately after this, and we'll just do a little bit of just getting into our bodies, just a small meditation to get us into that nice ventral state. But if you're unfamiliar, the tapping points, we're going to be using the crown. And when you tap, you're tapping with a decent amount of pressure, but you're not poking. You're probably wanting to hit the same spot like 7 to 14 times before moving to the next, but you don't actually have to count. It's just to give you a feel for how long you'll be at one point. And typically, sentence by sentence or line by line, you'll be moving down the points. So, we go crown, then the third eye, then right at the side of the eye, then there's a point here, and this one should be pretty easy to find if you're hitting it right. At least for me, there was a lot of tension when I started doing this here, and you could sort of feel it ripple out. So this one was really an important meridian for me. The next is the philtrum, which is this area between the upper lip and the nose. And then the next one is like just above the chin, just below the lower lip. Beyond that, you'll be tapping on the chest, pretty much hovering around the collarbones. And if that's all you want to do and then come back to here, that's fine. There are also two, your ribs stop here, your pecs stop here, or breasts, and then this area of ribs right on the top, that's another meridian point that we can use. There's also about it's hard to describe exactly where this is. It's like in line with your sternum, but to the side, and that's of course both. And beyond that, you can tap right here at the wrist where you have the joint. You can do the karate chop point here. Then, I'll go through the fingers as well. But you'd be tapping sort of toward the corner of your thumbnail, then toward the corner of your index, toward the corner of the nail on your middle, and the meridian on the ring finger is actually on the other side, so you would switch from going top down to going bottom up, again at the corner of the nail. And with the pinky, you would go back to top down, doing the same thing. But those aren't needed. The face is just the most important. But, again, you will, while tapping, you'll sort of feel natural points. Sorry, there's a road there, and I don't know how noisy that truck is going to be to the camera. But there will be a natural point getting into this where you'll just know after completing a thought to sort of move to the next. But that's the introduction to the tapping. The recordings will just be stating certain emotions or psychological concepts, and you're just sort of tapping through each idea one point at a time and just moving through it. And at any point, if something I say in the recording doesn't match up or align with anything that you struggle with, but and you don't want to say it, you can fill in the blank with something that is sort of fitting to the idea that we're tapping through that does apply to you specifically. And you don't have to speak out loud, but I would suggest at least like breathing out the words as if you were going to enunciate them, at the very least. So let's just begin by taking a deep breath in through the diaphragm. And just hold it at the top for a moment. And slowly exhale. Again. Exhale. And just sink into your body. I just want to feel the air on your skin. If there's any heat, any cool breeze, any sunshine that's easily noticeable on your skin. And we'll take another slow, deep breath in. And I want you to feel the expansion of your diaphragm and into your lungs. And then hold it for a few seconds. And as you slowly exhale, I just want you to feel the release that comes with that. Notice the sense of gravity, the feeling of your muscles being pulled down. Just notice how grounding that is, how cozy. Can you feel your heartbeat at all? How fresh is the air that you breathe? And now, we begin tapping. Before we tap, I want to begin by acknowledging the appeal of karma. The idea that there is an uncorrupted supernatural force making life fair is a relieving concept. After being mistreated or seeing mass injustice and lacking the agency to make things whole, it's a good thought that karma will make things right in the end. But my concern is, if there is no karma or any supernatural force of justice, and we say karma will make it right in the end, what we are really saying is, I resign myself to trust in absolutely nothing to hold the causes of human rights violations accountable, which means there is less of a chance at maintaining accountability. So let's address karma as a toxic hope. Begin tapping. It really bothers me that someone can hurt another person without consequence. It really bothers me that companies and governments can mistreat thousands of people without consequence. It really bothers me that children are killed in bombings. It really bothers me that children are killed in school shootings. It really bothers me that people die of curable diseases just because they can't afford the treatment. I often wrestle with how I can reconcile all of this. It aches. I can feel the pain in my heart when I think about these things. And I really wish there were something to protect us. I once found refuge in the idea of karma or a just God. Let's take in a breath. Hold it. Slowly release. I acknowledge that the hope of karma is a coping mechanism to feel more at peace in this world. I validate my need for peace. I love and accept myself, insecurity and all. I often feel that the world outside is a chaotic and dangerous place. I understand that the myth of karma provides a less chaotic explanation of the world. But I am here to value the truth more than I value comfort. I know that when I grasp and accept what's true, my behavior is more aligned with reality. Take in a deep breath. Hold it. Release. I acknowledge that passing responsibility to karma is a way to absolve myself of responsibility. I'm willing to admit that trusting in karma is easier than bearing the courage to confront the situation. I know that sometimes justice and closure and catharsis require a fight. I admit that leaning on karma is often conflict avoidant. I admit that prayers for intervention disempower my own intervention. Sometimes I'm afraid of what might happen if I advocate and fight for myself. I see the fear in me, and I hold it with love and acceptance. Take in a deep breath. Release it. I love and accept myself despite the fear that I feel. I sometimes feel powerless and overwhelmed. I love and accept myself regardless. I will do my best to live in a way that cultivates more courage and agency. I like the idea of being more courageous and having more ownership of my own life. I like the idea of being more capable of protecting my body and sense of self. I wonder how good it will feel to have more influence on how I live my life. I wonder how much more safe I will feel when I know I'll defend my boundaries. I wonder how much more safe I will feel when I don't rely on karma. I'm excited to know how much safer I'll feel when I trust myself to be strong. Take in a deep breath. Hold it. Slowly release. I am here to hold the parts of me that feel weak and powerless with love and acceptance. I make the decision to remind myself of my power. I remind myself that any bad precedent I've set before, I can change today. I remind myself that I can assert boundaries clearly and firmly. I remind myself that I'm allowed to change my boundaries whenever I want. I remind myself that I own my life. I remind myself that resisting abuse is a virtue, whether on a personal or systemic level. I remind myself that I will never regret asserting and honoring my boundaries.